trying to say it's offensive and cultural appropriation, and I just don't understand how. How can my hair be cultural appropriation when Vikings are literally the ones that invented braids?
Okay, I don't know how I became the resident white person whisperer when it comes to cultural appropriation and hairstyles, but here we are again. It remains true that I would rather take on the labor of trying to explain this to my fellow white people than pass the labor on to black creators who have been trying to explain these concepts to white people their entire lives. So let's see if we can get a little closer to a place of mutual understanding this time. So a lot of people have tagged me in the comments of this person's videos, and I think what's happening here is a fundamental misunderstanding of what cultural appropriation actually is and why it's problematic. Or maybe an incomplete understanding of cultural appropriation would be the better and more accurate language to use. So this creator is very confused in all of her videos. She doesn't know how she could possibly be getting accused of cultural appropriation when it was the Vikings who first invented braided hair. So a few things here. First of all, she's wearing her hair very obviously in cornrows, not just basic braids, and I think that she knows that, and I think that she's being a little bit knowingly disingenuous when she frames it by just calling them braids. And second of all, this whole Vikings invented braids thing is kind of a moot talking point because A, we don't actually know who invented braids. Lots of different cultures throughout all of human history have worn their hair in braids, and B, that's not what the problem actually is. This is where the misunderstanding comes into play. White people in America wearing black hairstyles is not problematic because black people invented it and you're stealing their invention. That's a misunderstanding of what the problem is. This creator most likely believes that cultural appropriation is simply when someone takes something from another culture that they do not belong to. And while that is an aspect of cultural appropriation and what makes cultural appropriation problematic at a systemic level, it's ultimately incomplete because no one actually has a problem with the basic concept of cultures sharing things. If I want to right now, I can go in my kitchen and make myself fried rice or a quesadilla, and no one's going to accuse me of being racially or culturally insensitive. Okay, you might be asking, so what's the difference? Why is it okay for you to culturally appropriate Asian food or Latino food, but it's not okay for you to appropriate a black hairstyle? The reason why I can go make a quesadilla right now is because no Latino person is getting turned down from a job because the boss says that they feel like their food that they make is unprofessional. They're not being systemically or institutionally discriminated against, dehumanized, or marginalized because of the fact that they like to put cheese in tortillas and put other things in there and grill it up and eat it. That's not to say that Latino people don't experience institutional or systemic discrimination. They absolutely do, but it's not on the basis of what kind of food they eat. Black people, however, do experience institutional and systemic discrimination and marginalization because of their hair. They are told regularly that wearing their hair in natural hairstyles like cornrows or bantu knots or locks is unprofessional or thuggish or unsightly. They are systemically dehumanized, profiled, and oppressed specifically because of these hairstyles. So it would not be culturally insensitive or disrespectful for me to make a quesadilla. However, if I were interviewing someone for a job and that person was Latino and I said, I don't want you stinking up the office kitchen with quesadillas and tacos and burritos, and I denied them that job because of the food that they eat, and then I went home and I threw a taco party for all of my white friends in my cul-de-sac, that would be a problem. Do you understand the distinction there? Hopefully, you understand the distinction there. And right now you might be thinking, yeah, but I didn't do that. I didn't deny anybody a job because of their hairstyle. I am not systemically oppressing black people because of the way they wear their hair. Why should I be punished for the society that I live in? And that's why I think it's important to not think of this as punishment. Just think of it as a matter of basic respect and sensitivity. All you're doing when you refrain from wearing certain hairstyles as a white person in America is showing respect and sensitivity for the discrimination that you know does unfortunately exist in the society that you find yourself in. Hello again, it's been a minute. I was out of town for a few weeks doing some work. Also, I had some oral surgery and I couldn't talk normally for several days, so I wasn't making any content, but I think I'm doing well enough to get back into the swing of things, so let's do it. It's been a little over a week since I posted this video about this woman and her box braids. Now, there are a few things I analyzed to see if a video that I've made seems to have been well received and absorbed by my audience. One is kind of the general vibe of the comment section, and the other is the like to view ratio. Normally for me, my like to view ratio sits between 20 and 30%, meaning between 20 to 30% of the people who watch the video click the like button. The video we're talking about currently has a little over 500,000 views, but just around 66,000 likes, which means we're about 35,000 likes short of that bottom level 20%. That, combined with the general vibe of the comments section on that video, tells me that we, unfortunately, are still not done talking about this. So we gotta keep going. So obviously there were a lot of people who watched that video who had no problem understanding it. I mean, 66,000 people liking the video is not nothing. And there were definitely plenty of very positive comments saying thank you for making this video. This was a very well-worded and clear explanation. But there were just a lot of people who are presumably in my audience who were still struggling mightily with this concept, with the concept of cultural appropriation and how it applies to hairstyles. I just want to be clear that 99.9% of the time that I make a video like this, responding to some conservative creator, I'm not doing it for the benefit of that person. I'm not doing it to reach that person. I doubt she even watched that video, and that's because it wasn't actually for her. It's for my audience. It's for the people in my audience who I think might need to hear whatever message it is that I'm hoping they can hear. So with that in mind, let's talk to some of those people. One of the most common responses I got was people saying things like, why are you worried about this? There's just so many bigger things going on in the world. This is such a silly thing to focus on. This is such a small, pedantic issue. There are so many bigger issues in the world that you could be talking about, and you're choosing to talk about something as small and insignificant as hairstyles. Who cares how people wear their hair? Just let people wear their hair however they like. It's not that big of a deal. Why are you focusing on something so small and so stupid and so insignificant? Here's the thing. In the abstract, what these people are saying makes sense. It is stupid and small and petty to be concerned with another person's hairstyle. It is stupid and small and petty and weird to be concerned with how much melanin another person has in their skin. We should live in a society where we don't discriminate against each other because of things like this, because of the amount of melanin we have in our skin, or because of who someone is in love with, because of, what God someone prays to, because of what someone's hair looks like. We should live in that world. The problem is, as I'm sure you're well aware, we unfortunately do not live in that world. We live in the stupid, small, petty, weird world where we constantly do systemically oppress and marginalize each other for all of these basic personal characteristics. And because we live in that world, it is incumbent on progressive allies and advocates to have respect and sensitivity for that reality, to have respect and sensitivity for the marginalization and dehumanization that certain groups experience on a day-to-day basis. When you say something like, there are so many bigger things going on in the world than what someone's hair looks like, you're not technically incorrect. However, in the world that we live in, matters of social justice are all intersectional. They all overlap. You cannot address one without understanding and addressing the other. So right now what's happening is like you're pruning branches and you're going, why are you focusing on that branch over there? Look at all these branches. These branches have gotten out of control. The problem is they're all branches on the same big tree, and we need to view the tree holistically. We need to be trying to cut down the tree, not just pruning individual branches. branches. And in order to do that, we need to be able to see and comprehend the totality of the tree. The other thing about these arguments is being asked to refrain from wearing certain hairstyles out of a sense of basic cultural respect and sensitivity is a relatively simple ask. When it comes to the work that a social justice advocate or ally might be called upon to do, this is one of the simpler tasks, and you're really struggling with that ask. You're just really like, no, I want to be able to wear my hair however I want. I imagine most people in my audience would not go on Kanye West's website and order the shirt that he's been advertising. I'm blurring it out in this image because I don't want this video to get taken down, but you know what image is on that shirt, right? Like, if you don't, you can go Google it, but like, you wouldn't go buy that shirt and wear it out in public, right? You could make the abstract argument, who cares what shirt I'm wearing? It's just a shirt. There are so many bigger issues going on in the world than what kind of shirt I'm wearing. Let people wear whatever shirt they want to wear. And again, in a perfect society where certain shapes and symbols are not used as a means of systemically oppressing and marginalizing certain people because of immutable aspects of their identity, you would have a very good point. In that world, it wouldn't make sense to tell someone, hey, could you not wear that shirt? But in the world that we live in, you understand why you might be asked not to wear that shirt. You understand why people ask you not to use racial slurs. Like, you go around every day not using slurs, and you understand why. In one of the first videos I made about this topic, I compared white people wearing certain hairstyles to minstrelsy and blackface. A lot of people had problems with that comparison, but I still think that it holds up because you would not make this same argument. You would not say, quit telling people what shade they can paint their skin and what shade they can't. It's none of your business. It's not your skin. If a person thinks that their skin looks good when they paint it darker, let them do that. You understand why there is a cultural boundary there. You understand why you should respect that cultural boundary. What concerns me is you presumably want to take on, the threat of far-right authoritarian Christian nationalism, but you're struggling with something this relatively easy. If you can't do the small, simple things, why would you think you would be able to tackle the much bigger, much more complex things? And the last argument that I saw a lot of, and when I say a lot, I just mean a lot. I just mean so many, just so many of you, so many, and I mean like so many people, like so, just over and over, just so many, just so many of you, just actually so many of you said this. Wouldn't it fix the problem if more white people just wore these hairstyles? If more white people wore their hair in cornrows or bantu knots or locks, wouldn't that help to societally normalize these hairstyles? Well, white people have been appropriating these hairstyles for decades now. Has it fixed the problem yet? And the answer to that question is no, it has not. White people have been appropriating these hairstyles, and so far it has not helped to normalize them or to decrease the amount of stigmatization or discrimination that black people experience for wearing these hairstyles. And again, I go back to the thing I was saying in the previous example, like, would you do this with any other cultural boundary that you're being asked to respect? Would you say, hey, maybe if we all buy the shirts on Kanye's website and we all go around wearing those shirts, it'll help to normalize that symbol. Maybe if we all go around doing the Roman salute that Elon Musk did on stage at the inauguration, maybe it'll normalize that salute and it'll help to destigmatize it. Would you say maybe if we all start using slurs more regularly, it'll sort of soften the slurs and it will make it so that people experience less societal marginalization and dehumanization because of that language? I don't think you would make that argument. And that's why I'm so confused why so many of you keep making that argument when it comes to the hairstyle thing. I don't know why you can't just go, you know what? I've been asked to respect a cultural boundary based on a history of systemic discrimination, and I have no problem respecting that boundary, just like I have no problem respecting it in all of these other areas. I don't know why this is the one spot where so many white people get tripped up. I don't know why it's so tough. What I would say is just work on being a social justice ally, work on being anti-racist in your day-to-day life, work on being someone who listens to marginalized and oppressed communities and who respects the boundaries that they ask you to respect. Work on helping to create the society that does not discriminate against people because of what their hair looks like, or because of how much melanin they have in their skin, or because of what their religious affiliation is, or because of what their sexuality is, or because of what their gender identity is. Work on helping to create that society, and then maybe in that society you can wear your hair however you would like. It's really not that crazy of a thing that you're being asked. And there's a lot more, honestly, that goes into cultural appropriation. For a lot of people, it's like there's certain things that are just sacred to their culture, that they're just saying, hey, that's really sacred to us. Could you please not do that? You know, it's like if you walked around wearing a hijab and you were not Muslim, a Muslim person might go, hey, could you please not do that? That's actually sacred. Or if you were not LDS and you walked around wearing Mormon temple garments, a Mormon person might say, hey, could you please not do that? I find that disrespectful. If you were not Jewish and you walked around wearing a yarmulke, a Jewish person might say, hey, could you actually not do that? I find that culturally insensitive. And I hope you would understand all of those things. But here's the actual thing about it is you don't actually even need to fully understand it to respect it. That's the real crazy thing, is that so many of you are like, I just don't get it. There's so many people in the comments who are like, I'm really trying to understand it and I just can't. I just don't get it. And what I really want you to know at the bottom of all of this is you don't actually need to fully get it. It's okay if you don't fully get it. You just need to trust that if a person is in a systemically more marginalized and more dehumanized group than you are in, and they are asking you to respect a cultural boundary, you can just respect that boundary without even fully understanding it. You can just say, yes, I can do that. It really doesn't need to be more complicated than that. And I truly hope that we got something done here, because I don't think I want to make another video about this for a while. All right, okay.